focus was reading comprehension and gains in reading comprehension.
So our PLC goal, our overall goal was increasing skills in fluency and reading comprehension. Some of the goals that we each individually had, Amanda wanted to increase the skills of her fluency and comprehension with her students by half a year's growth, as measurable by weekly fluency comprehension assessments, and those are perfect for the special ed area. Sarah, students will double their words per minute by the end using Read Naturally. And is that what you meant by measured by now?
Yeah,
Probably.
I don't know what that was.
And then mine was increased comprehension by half a year's growth, and mine changed the whole time because I never had the same kids.
You're out of the frame over there.
Darn.
Okay. So some of the strategies we used were sentence stems. So when they were answering questions, we used, we'd give them a frame, and they would.
Shame.
Keep focused. Okay, they would, answer using complete sentences. Anything else you guys want to add about that one?
No.
This really helped, especially my first graders. They really couldn't write.
Graphic organizers, as you guys all know, are a huge asset to the classroom because it helps them organize their thoughts and understand what they were reading because they can put it in their own words.
Phonograms, as you can tell by what Cara was talking about and Kristen with their focus on phonograms. I mean, you can see up here we used a lot of different strategies, and we don't have it listed week by week because it was kind of a growing process for us. We used all of these by the end, which we were using every day. So, I mean, being able to question, having that fluency practice, being able to use those narrative reading passages and all of those things that you see up here, sentence stems, graphic organizers, they were things that we used all throughout our entire time working on PLCs, and they kind of just built upon each other to really focus on that comprehension and fluency.
Some of the challenges we faced, we were unable to meet our overall goal, which was disappointing, but we think if we had more time, we would have been able to. Implementation in other teachers' classrooms, so sometimes it's hard having your mentor. You don't get to do exactly what you want to do.
I had technology issues getting Read Naturally for a while because it took forever for the IT person to come in and get everybody set up on it. So we were not able to start tracking their words per minute and their goals until about 2 weeks ago. So I was unable to meet my goal because of that.
Well, and for Sarah as well, this last one, reading implementation late in the semester, she was focusing on math for a good chunk of our PLC time when we were working on reading strategies. And so having to use those strategies in very different ways because it was math as opposed to reading was also a challenge for Sarah specifically. Right?
And then changing placements, I was in 3 different placements.
All right.
Who knows it? Those successes. I think you skipped. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So some of our successes that are the same as what we did every week. The sentence stems were awesome in all 3 of our placements. Graphic organizers are helpful for any kid. I think we all know that as teachers, that it keeps them organized and keeps them on track. Phonograms, of course, it's the basics to learning how to spell and to read. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, and my kids went up a whole, on the Morris McCall spelling test, I don't know if you guys do that, but they went up a whole level as a class, which was pretty impressive using the phonograms and the Spalding method of spelling. So that was pretty impressive. Yeah.
Okay, so this is my data. It says usage of sentence stems increased overall communication for students. So what I mean by that is we incorporated a lot of student-to-student feedback in our classroom and making sure that they were listening first off to what the students were saying, and then they could kind of give them feedback as to whether they agreed, they disagreed, if they had a question about whatever the student said. So having them really interact with each other, using those strategies for like having those sentence stems available for them was great. The use of graphic organizers, which we've already talked about, was really beneficial for the students, especially in the special ed setting, because they a lot of times need closed notes. They need just a more easily defined way of organizing their thoughts, because a lot of times they can't get those thoughts on paper. And then feedback between students has increased. So the usage of those sentence stems and questioning strategies and all those things is really getting the students to communicate better with each other, which is great because when we're in a small group setting, I mean, I want my students to have that communication and to build that community within the small classroom when they're having to come in and out of class so frequently.
So my data, this is one of the graphic organizers I use with my first graders, and they got to sort pictures, informative or narrative, so they got to see what was important, and it worked really well with them, and I used pictures that really meant something to them. Biggest hit was Justin Bieber, like a novel about him, so that was important to them, and they got them all right. They knew the difference between the two. And it is a first grade skill, so it was very important that in the couple weeks I was in there, I at least taught them something. But sentence stems also were very useful for when they were talking. So they were able to use complete sentences because otherwise they'd just say one word. And then, of course, phonograms for my kindergarten or my first graders and my third graders was very important. I didn't have exact data just because I wasn't in any placement long enough.
Okay. Mine, because I was in math for a while, so I use sentence stems during math, and they have to communicate their thinking and their thought process throughout a problem solving. So I saw their communication from the beginning of the year go from a 1 to most of them are now at a 3 in communication, which is impressive because they have to justify, and it's huge in Common Core. And then, like I said, they increased on the Morse McCall using the sentence and phonograms from an N to an O, which is awesome. And yeah, we have a reading comprehension guide, and during questioning, like the questioning section of that reading guide, they went from a 1 to a 3 as well, which is awesome because it's all predicting and whatnot. So, and yeah, moving forward.
Moving forward, in our current classrooms, the students will, because we use so many strategies and taught our students so many different ways to increase fluency and comprehension and things of that nature, we feel that they have the foundational skills necessary to continue using those strategies even when we're not in the classroom. I mean, obviously they have a lead teacher that's not us that will be using those strategies as well, we hope. But they're becoming better readers, they're more fluent, all of those things. And we feel that because we had to research and really dive into these strategies and using them correctly in our classrooms, that we have a foundational knowledge for ourselves to be able to implement that in our own classrooms